Welcome to this module on periodization for sports performance. During this presentation, we are going to take a 360-degree view of periodization, how we appropriately use periodization, and how we can practically apply it to different athletic performance environments. To truly understand periodization, we must first step back in time and analyse the history and origin of periodization. But before we do, let's first define what periodization is. Periodization is the systematic planning of athletic performance training. The aim is to gear individuals towards reaching their best possible level of performance for either a single competition during the year, such as Olympic sports, or sustaining performance levels for a whole season, such as is needed in field-based sports. Periodization involves the progressive cycling of various aspects of a training program during a specific period of time. Strength and conditioning programs can use periodization to break up the training program into the off-season, pre-season, and in-season. Periodization divides the year-round conditioning program into phases of training which focus on different goals. The history of periodization can be traced back to nearly 2,000 years ago, so we know that periodization is not a new concept. However, periodization has been a heavily debated topic by sports scientists and strength and conditioning coaches in recent years, so we must ask ourselves the question, why? Since the rise in popularity of the Olympic Games in the early 1900s, countries that competed competitively in those games were forced to take a more analytical approach to how they prepared their athletes for competition. Countries like the USSR, which is today known as Russia, and Eastern Bloc countries were among the first countries to truly shape periodization as we know it. The first recorded monograph that was devoted to high-performance training was published in 1916 by Boris Kotov, a USSR track and field coach. In his book called Olympic Sport, readers are introduced to the original concept of periodization that defines three distinct stages. The first stage is general fitness preparation, the second stage is specialized training, and the third stage is specific preparation for the forthcoming competition. A further monograph was released in 1964 by Russian physiologist Leo Matiev, who closely observed all training that was being performed under the USSR Olympic training system at the time, such as track and field, swimming, skiing, etc. Matiev looked to develop Kotov's original concept of periodization by introducing what we now refer to as the traditional approach to periodization. Matiev further organized the periodization model and was able to establish that the success the USSR was experiencing during the 1952 and 56 Summer Olympic Games could be directly attributed to the periodization models being used by the USSR coaches. Matiev could identify a clear breakdown of each stage of training the Olympic athletes went through, with records clearly showing defined quadrennial cycles of training, which is the planning and preparation of training cycles for 4 years. Within that quadrennial cycle, multiple macro cycles existed, which is the planning and preparation of training for 1 year. Finally, mesocycles of training took place that represented blocks of training lasting 2 to 8 weeks. Matiev analysed the results of the USSR athletes from the 1952 and 1956 Olympics and compared successful and not so successful athletes and their training schedules. From their training plans, periodization schedules were developed for the 1960 Olympics, where the USSR arguably had one of their most successful Olympic Games, with 43 gold, 29 silver, and 31 bronze medals. Matiev has since been regarded as the father of traditional periodization. Within Mateyev's periodization model lay two main components that made up a traditional periodization plan as we know it today. Those components were the preparatory period and the competition period. Within the preparatory period of periodization, we have two further subcomponents of training. First, we have the general preparation period, GPP, and the special preparation period, SPP. GPP focuses on developing general fitness and strength qualities, such as aerobic fitness, which is the ability to continually perform exercises such as running, rowing, cycling for a prolonged period of time, and strength endurance, which is the ability to perform a movement with great control and accuracy for a set amount of repetitions, normally around 15 to 20. While SPP moves focus towards developing fitness and strength qualities that are closely related to the sport itself. For example, sports that require athletes to perform bouts of high intensity work for 30 to 90 seconds at a time without any break would require them to have a well-developed anaerobic system, while sports that call for the expression of high force would require athletes to have well-developed max strength qualities. The competition phase then requires the focus of training to be highly specific to the sport itself and mimic the exact movements, improving the power, speed, and efficiency at which those movements are performed. For example, in track events such as the 100-meter sprint, the ability to produce force very quickly to sprint fast was highly advantageous. Therefore, plyometric movements which mimic the sport and elicited the required adaptation of reactive strength became very useful to the athlete's training. The last stage of this historic periodization walkthrough is the rise of the well-known and successful periodization model termed block periodization by Yuri Verkhoshansky. Verkhoshansky, who was named the godfather of plyometrics in many publications and books, was mostly known for his success in the jumping disciplines. While he tried to build on the work of his predecessors Kotov and Mateyev, his periodization model aimed to develop one single strength or fitness quality during each block of training. The development of a single quality resulted in substantial enhancement of that quality, with a delayed transformation effect and improvements in sport-specific technical motor abilities. The delayed transformation suggests that the strength or fitness quality developed in a 6-week block of training only truly comes to fruition in terms of supercompensation in the next 6-week block of training. The premise of block periodization was to prioritize a single strength quality during an accumulation phase such as maximum strength. Once pure saturation of that quality had been achieved, the following block of training, known as the restitution phase, would develop a quality with a greater emphasis on speed, such as speed strength, while trying to maintain the max strength quality originally developed in the accumulation phase. Verkhoshansky's block periodization found great success for athletes who required a relatively small number of target abilities, such as the jumping disciplines. Block periodization has come under great scrutiny in recent years, with a strong academic argument suggesting that the application of such models in field-based sports are challenging. The reason for this was coaches have found that in preparing athletes who need to develop and excel in a large number of sport-specific abilities such as strength, power, speed, agility, aerobic capacity and anaerobic power concurrently, the approach does not provide the balanced multilateral training that enables athletes to attain optimal athletic preparedness and peak performance. In conclusion, sports periodization has come a long way since its first recorded monograph by Kotov in the early 1900s. Mateyev was responsible for creating the traditional periodization model, or as it is referred to today, linear periodization, where volume decreases and intensity increases over the preparatory period and the competition period. Finally, Verkhoshansky introduced block periodization, which was a far more advanced model of training. This model allowed for the complete saturation and development of strength and fitness qualities. During the preceding blocks of training, new strength and fitness qualities would be developed while maintaining any strength and fitness qualities developed in the prior blocks of training.